My parents didn't even acknowledge my son's 10th birthday, not a call, not a text. But a week later, my mom messaged me asking if I could send $2,000 for my sister's engagement party. I didn't reply. I just blocked them. By the next morning, they had called me 28 times nonstop. I'll never forget the look on my son's face when he realized they weren't coming. He was wearing the blue shirt my mom gave him 2 birthdays ago, one of the few gifts he actually remembered. He picked it out himself that morning, saying, "Grandma likes when I wear this one." My heart cracked a little when he said that, but I smiled and helped him fix the collar. This year was supposed to be different. He had told all his little friends at school that his grandparents were coming for his birthday party. "They're going to drive from Jersey just for me," he said proudly, even though they hadn't said a word to either of us in weeks. Not a single confirmation. Still, he believed in them. He set aside 2 slices of cake and saved the biggest balloon for my dad, the one shaped like a football. He made a card for my mom with glitter and macaroni glued to it that said, "Thank you for loving me." But the hours passed, the sun went down, the guests left, the candles burned out. And they never showed up. Not a call, not a text, not a sorry, something came up, just nothing. And maybe that would have hurt me more if I hadn't already been used to it. But my son wasn't. He's only 10. He still believes in birthdays and family and promises. He still thinks people mean what they say. At bedtime, he tried to act tough. You know how boys are sometimes, pretending they don't care. He mumbled, "Maybe their car broke down." I nodded. I kissed his forehead. I didn't have the heart to tell him they just didn't care. And I told myself, like I've told myself 1,000 times before, this is why I keep them at arm's length. This is why I never rely on them. But the very next week, she messaged me, my mom, out of nowhere. Not, "How was the party?" Not, "Sorry we missed it." Not, "How's my grandson doing?" "Oh, just can you send $2,000 for your sister's engagement party?" Like we were just business partners or something. Like I was her personal ATM, like nothing had even happened. I stared at the message so long, I think my phone screen dimmed. I didn't reply. I didn't ask questions. I just blocked them. Both of them. No drama, no big speech. I was done. But guess what? By the next morning, I had 28 missed calls. Not from my mom, not from my dad, all from my sister's phone. First, I thought something happened. A car accident, a hospital emergency, but my gut knew better, and I was right. When I finally answered, I heard my mom's voice, out of breath, talking fast. "We want to come," she said. "We want to see you, see him, fix things." And I paused because for a second, just 1 second. The part of me that still wanted to believe them said, maybe this time they mean it. So, I agreed, but not because I trusted them. No, I had something else in mind. And if you think I was just going to sit there and let them sweep everything under the rug, think again. You ever get to the point where you're so tired of being used that you finally snap? That was me right then. So I said, yes, let them come. Let them see what I've become without them. Tell me, would you have let them back in even for a second? Because what I did next, let's just say this story is just get Benji started. So yeah, I told them they could come and they did. The very next day, no planning, no heads up, no are you free. Just a dry text from my sister's number that said, we're outside. Just like that. Like they were dropping off cupcakes, not walking back into a life they'd ignored. I stared at the screen for a good 10 seconds. My hands were shaking. You know when your body knows something is off before your brain catches up? That was me. My stomach was tight, and not because I was nervous, because I was angry. Angry they came on their terms. I opened the door. There they were, my mom in her usual dramatic look. Huge sunglasses like she thought she was some kind of celebrity. Lipstick too bright for 10:00 a.m. and my dad, silent as always, trailing behind her like some tired ghost. She gave me that fake little smile. Sweetheart, you look thin. Are you eating enough? Can you believe that? That's the first thing she said. After missing my son's birthday, after asking for money, after nothing. Not even how's he doing? Not can we talk, just you look thin, like I was still 15 failing algebra and needing her approval. I didn't hug her, I didn't say hello. I just opened the door wider and said, "You've got 10 minutes. Don't sit down." You might think that's harsh, but let me ask you, how many times can someone let you down before you finally stop offering them chairs in your life? They stepped in like they own the place. Eyes wandering around trying to read the room. My dad didn't say a word. He never really does. I used to think that meant he wasn't guilty of anything, just going along with whatever my mom decided. But now I know better. Guilt hides in silence. I let them walk into the dining room where the decorations from the party were still up. I hadn't taken them down. Maybe part of me couldn't. Streamers, a half-deflated 10 balloon, a Spider-Man paper plate with a single candle still stuck in the frosting. And that balloon, the football-shaped one, still floating. My son had begged me not to pop it. "It's for Grandpa," he'd said. "In case he shows up late." He never showed, so I pointed. I didn't say much. Just motioned to the table and said that was his party last week. "You remember?" They froze. My mom fidgeted with her purse. My dad looked at the floor and she said, and I swear I wanted to scream. We had things going on. Things, that was it. Not an apology, not an ounce of regret, just things. "I guess his birthday wasn't one of them," I said. Silence. You ever stand in a room with people you're supposed to love and feel like a complete stranger? Like you're the one who messed up just because you're the only one telling the truth. I looked straight at my mom and said, "I know why you're really here. It's not about my son. It's not even about me. It's about my sister's stupid party and the fact that your golden girl can't throw a bridal shower without bleeding me dry. I know, harsh, right? But can I ask you something? Why do the people who give the least always ask for the most?" Her smile dropped, then she blinked like I'd slapped her. My dad finally opened his mouth and said quietly, "It's not like that." So I asked, "Then what is it like, Dad? Please explain to me how this doesn't look exactly like what it is." Still no answer. And then, of course, my son walked into the room. He must have heard voices. He had bed head and was rubbing his eyes still in his little dinosaur pajamas. But the moment he saw them, his whole face lit up. "Grandma," he said. "Grandpa." He ran toward them before I could say anything. And they bent down and hugged him like nothing had happened, like they'd been there all along. And I swear I felt something shatter inside me. Because after all the lies, all the silence, he still loved them, still welcomed them like open doors, still saved them the best pieces of his birthday. That's when I started to doubt myself. Was I being too harsh, too protective, too angry? But then I looked at my son, hugging them with his whole heart, and I remembered he doesn't know better yet. I do, and it's my job to protect him from that heartbreak, not to feed him to it just because he smiles when he sees it. So I let them stay. I didn't do it for them. I did it for my son. But what I didn't know was that they were hiding something I wasn't supposed to find out, and when I did, everything shifted, completely. Have you ever uncovered something about your own family that made your skin crawl? Because what I learned that night made me question everything I thought I knew. So yes, I let them stay. Not because they deserved it, not because I forgave anything, but because my son loves them. And somehow, he still sees them as people worth loving. Maybe that's the innocence of being 10. Maybe that's something I lost a long time ago. They perched on the edge of the couch like they were the ones on trial. And honestly, they were. I leaned against the counter and said, "Let's not pretend this is about family." "You want something again, don't you?" My mom did her usual dramatic sigh, the one where she closes her eyes like she's staring in a soap opera. Then she launched into it. "Look, your sister's engagement is important. She's had such a hard year. We just want to celebrate her. She deserves that." I stared at her. A hard year. The same sister who went on 2 cruises, bought a brand new iPhone, and posted an entire Instagram reel about her soft girl luxury life. You know who actually had a hard year? Me. Working double shifts. Dealing with co-parenting drama from an ex who disappears every other weekend. Raising a child who still believes his grandparents will show up for him. And now they wanted me to open my wallet again for the sister who couldn't even text my son happy birthday. "No," I said. "You don't get to show up a week late and leave with a price tag." That's when something strange happened. My mom looked at my dad, and my dad actually looked up. That man who barely speaks, who fades into the background like wallpaper. He looked at her like he couldn't hold it in anymore. "Tell her," he said quietly. My mom stiffened. "Tell her what?" I narrowed my eyes. "If you're about to tell me she's secretly pregnant, I swear to God." "She took out a loan in my name," he interrupted, blunt. $15,000. "We found out last week." I blinked. "What?" "She forged the paperwork," he continued. "Used documents she found at the house. The bank flagged inconsistencies." I felt dizzy. My knees nearly buckled. They weren't here for a celebration. They were here to clean up a financial disaster my sister caused and didn't want me to know about. "So the $2,000, I asked slowly. "Not for flowers or cake or some stupid dress," my mom swallowed hard. "It's the first payment, to keep the bank from escalating it." And what really got me? They still showed up expecting me to just hand it over. No explanation, no apology, no truth, just smiling like they weren't dragging my sister's crime behind them. "You let my son sit by the window waiting for you," I said, my voice shaking, "so you could clean up a crime. You chose her again." Then my mom said the thing that hit hardest of all. "She's always needed more help than you. You ever have someone you love tell you your pain doesn't matter because you're strong?" I didn't respond. I walked into the kitchen, hands trembling, and poured myself a glass of water before I said something I couldn't take back. That's when I noticed it. A plain white envelope on the counter. No name. No stamp, no writing, just sitting there, heavy. "What's this?" I asked. My mom looked confused. Then she looked at my dad. His face dropped. "We were going to give that to you," he said. "When?" I asked. No answer. I opened it slowly, expecting another bill, another burden, but inside were crisp $100 bills, $3,000. My hands shook as I looked up. "Where did this come from?" And then my dad said something that made my throat close. "Your grandmother, Nana, she left it for you. Told us to give it to you when your son turned 10. I stopped breathing. Nana was the only person in my family who never made me feel invisible, the only one who believed in me when I had nothing. I still remembered her saying, "When life gets heavy, a little light tucked away can make all the difference." They kept it from me, for months, maybe a year. "You watched me cry over bills," I whispered. "You watched me work overtime, and you had this sitting in a drawer." My mom said they were waiting for the right moment, but we all knew the truth. They were waiting to use it, waiting to see if I'd offer money first so they could play it off like generosity. I was done. "You're staying for dinner," I said, staring at the envelope. "Not because I want you here, but because we're finally having a real conversation." Because that night, everything was coming out. The lies, the favoritism, the guilt, and the boundaries. You know that moment when something snaps and you realize you'll never be the same? That was mine. I made spaghetti. I don't know why. It was the first thing I grabbed. I needed my hands busy, something to stop me from throwing the envelope across the room. They sat awkwardly at the table like guests at a wake. My son, sweet and oblivious, chatted while setting the table with mismatched napkins. He asked Grandma if she still liked garlic bread. She smiled and said yes, like nothing was broken. He doesn't know any of this, and I wanted it to stay that way. Dinner was quiet. My son filled the space with talk about Pokemon and learning to ride his bike without hands. My dad nodded along, pretending everything was fine, but I was done pretending. When my son went to his room, I set my fork down and looked them both straight in the eye. I told my mom clearly that I wasn't giving her a single cent, not from Nana's money. Not from mine, and that she would never ask me for money again. Not for my sister, not for birthdays, not for last-minute emergencies. I said I was done being the fixer, the backup plan, the emotional punching bag. If they ever made my son feel second to my sister again, they would never see him. My mom finally admitted they assumed I'd survive, so they didn't protect or nurture me. That hurt more than anything. My dad surprised us by pulling out a checkbook and saying they would start paying back what they owed. It was small, but it mattered. I set firm boundaries and made it clear they could be in my son's life only if things truly changed. 3 weeks passed with no drama, no calls, just peace. Then one Sunday, they showed up with a homemade cake for my son's birthday. No demands, no excuses. My sister gave me a letter, no money, just an apology. My mom admitted she failed me and hugged me for the first time in years. My dad even brought a repayment plan. We sat together, ate cake, and talked, really talked. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. That night my son asked, "Are we a real family now?" I smiled and told him we always were, we'd just forgotten. I let them back in. This time with boundaries, truth, and hope.